It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this is CarEdge Live for Tuesday, August 19th, with your host, me, Ray, here in Ventnor, where no swimming's allowed because of Hurricane Erin. And, well, Zach sporting his Dodgers jersey in Washington, D.C. What can I say, ladies and gentlemen? Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So grateful for you being here with us. We've got a sponsor for today's show, our friends over at Delete Me. However, must remind you that back at CarEdge.com, we are on year almost 6 now of trying to help folks buy a car without the headache. Check it out, CarEdge.com. A friendly reminder, you can also track what your vehicle's worth back over on CarEdge.com/sell or CarEdge.com, and then click on what is my car worth. Check that out back on the website. Now, Dad, today's show, Toyota dealers have a major problem. And I want to walk you through this major problem because I think it is going to cause a lot of frustration for potential Toyota customers. We are going to look at all of the consolidated data we have on the fastest and slowest selling vehicles. Now, we do these videos over on the CarEdge main channel pretty often, and I know a lot of folks find them valuable, but we're going to focus today just on what's happening for our friends over at Toyota. And we are not going to be looking at the slowest selling cars, Pops. We're going to be looking at the fastest selling cars. And when we look at this, not only by vehicle, but also by truck, or not only by like overall cars, but trucks and SUVs, you will quickly see why Toyota dealers have a major problem. They cannot keep up with consumer demand. And I want to talk about that. Let's start here, though, Pops. The fastest selling cars in the United States, the number one fastest seller, Toyota Corolla Cross, Lexus RX Hybrid, Toyota Sequoia, Toyota Sienna, Lexus NX Hybrid, Toyota Highlander, and even the Toyota BZ4X. You have over 50% of the fastest selling cars in the United States right now are Toyotas, Pops. What's that do for those dealers? Why is that potentially a problem for them?
I'm trying to think. Why is that potentially a problem? Well, I guess the problem would be that if you have more customers than you have cars, and in some cases you're going to charge some of those customers more than perhaps you should because, well, you have more customers than you have cars. There will be a percentage of what would have been or could have been Toyota customers that will end up becoming raving fans of whatever other brand they end up buying because they can't get the Toyota that they want, or they can't get what they perceive to be a fair deal for the Toyota that they want. So the major problem would be is that you are losing some potential customers because your inventory levels are just too tight.
Fastest selling SUVs. Let's go over here. Maybe Toyota's doing a little bit better on the SUV side. They have enough inventory to meet demand. Maybe, but probably not. The fastest selling SUV for the month of August in the United States, the Corolla Cross. The next fastest, the Sienna. The next fastest, the Sequoia. Dad, the average transaction prices on these vehicles are somewhere around $30,000, $50,000, and $80,000 respectively. And then obviously the next one's a Lexus and the next one's a Highlander. So like Toyota is struggling across the board in terms of being able to actually support their dealers with enough inventory. Look at that, Dad. The first 6 fastest selling SUVs in the United States right now are all Toyota or Lexus products. And so I agree with you. And I even posted over on TikTok just the other day, and it's gone a little bit viral, Dad, a video talking about the Mazda CX-90 and talking about how it now competes directly with the Toyota Grand Highlander. And there are, 100,000 plus people have watched this video, 364 comments. There's a lot of comments on here, Dad, talking about people actually going with the Mazda because you can see it right there. I'm sorry, but the Grand Highlander is not worth $60,000 either. To your point, Toyota is missing out on some customers because they don't have enough inventory. They have so much pricing power. It's creating that opportunity for other brands. But the first 6 fastest selling SUVs in the US are all Toyotas.
So I guess the major problem for these Toyota and Lexus dealers is where do we hide the profits that we're making so that we don't have to pay quite as much in tax? That's the major problem. Where do we put all this money that we're making? And my guess, this is just a guess from somebody that spent 43 years in retail automotive. My guess is that, well, most Toyota dealers don't really see this as a problem, and they'll figure out ways to hide whatever they need to hide, so they don't have to pay as much in the way of taxes, and they're going to live happily ever after.
Dad, let's look at
I'm
trucks.
just thinking, yeah.
Let's look at trucks, because I don't know, Toyota, they had the major recall on one of their trucks earlier this year. That's got to hurt things over there. It's not even close, Dad. The Tundra is the fastest selling pickup truck in the United States. Number 2 is the Tacoma. And again, not even close. Then it's the Silverado with an 80 days supply of inventory. Then the Maverick. Then the Sierra. Like, Toyota is at the top of every single fastest selling vehicle list, which at the end of the day does, for those who cannot afford to pay up for potentially additional dealer markups or wait, months on end for allocation. And you can see here, we even had the comment from David, went to my local Toyota dealer last Saturday. It was standing room only on the sales floor, people all over the lot. You and I talk about this all the time. It's supply and demand. And
Yes.
ultimately, I think the challenge that these Toyota dealers have is they do not have enough supply and they have too much demand, which will create the opportunity for brands like Mazda. Again, that video I posted pops over 100,000 views. Lots of people in there. Trust me, lots of Toyota fanboys and girls saying, hey, Toyota's the best brand. Do not even consider a Mazda. But a lot of people, I was actually surprised at how many people said, no, I'm taking the Mazda with this $10,000 lease cash incentive, because you know what? That's a great deal and it's a comparable vehicle. So even looking at pickup trucks, an area where we think Toyota doesn't perform particularly well, they're struggling. They're winning, which means they're struggling.
Yeah, but here's the other thing to take into consideration: that $10,000 for the lease cash, that didn't include any discount from the dealer off of MSRP. You would think that
we have the data, Dad. You're getting $3,000 to $5,000 as a dealer discount on the CX-90.
Exactly. So I was going to say, on that $60,000 vehicle, you're probably looking at a cap cost after rebates and dealer discounts somewhere around $45,000 to $47,000. Suddenly, that makes that a very viable product or vehicle for people to consider who are considering leasing. And if Mazda does it well and it proves out that CX-90 is a quality vehicle, and that's yet to be determined because it's only been around for a couple of years, but let's assume for a second that it does, those are customers that would have been or possibly could have been Toyota customers that will remain Mazda customers in the future. And that's what happens when you develop a product line that is so popular, you can't produce enough of it to satisfy or satiate the customers' appetites out there for that product.
And that's where I think the crux of this is, Dad, for Toyota dealers. To be clear, they are a printing press right now. They are as profitable as a bank. I mean, they are just printing money left and right.
Yes.
But from Igor here, 10% off MSRP plus a $10,000 rebate plus an additional $1,000 if you're a loyal Mazda buyer. That's the opportunity cost. If I'm a customer, do I go with a Grand Highlander at MSRP? And Toyota is notorious for port-installed accessories, which is essentially because of the historical distribution method they use. They have Gulf States Toyota distributors. They have Southeast Toyota distributors. Like, there are distributors that then are owned by F&I product companies that add products to boost their profits that jack up the price even more. If I'm a shopper and I'm looking at that's option A, but option B is I go to Mazda, I get 10% off MSRP, $10,000 rebate. And to your point, Dad, can then be into the brand for the future. Like, that's the crux for Toyota, which, if I'm not mistaken, was exactly how they broke into the United States back in 1957 or whatever it was. They were the cheaper alternative that was durable. It's a huge opportunity for other brands.
I think what you just described, and this will be the perfect segue for you, is between option A and option B, you're going to delete option A because it's just too damn expensive, because there's an undersupply of product and an oversupply of customers.
We're going to continue the conversation in a moment, but first, we're going to talk about the sponsor of today's program, our friends Delete Me. The only thing you want to delete online, that would be your data. There are data brokers out there selling your information online, and literally pops, anyone can buy it. Things like your phone number, social security number, and home address are sold online every single day. They're available to marketers, scammers, and those elusive folks in between. What you see on the screen here is my most recent monthly Delete Me report. You can see I've been using Delete Me since March of 2024. So a year and a half now using Delete Me. Delete Me helps you take control of your data. Delete Me removes your personal information from hundreds of data brokers on your behalf. And Dad, for the CarEdge community, we have a 20% off coupon code. It's just CarEdge, or you can click the link in the top of the description, joindeleteme.com/CarEdge. Delete Me saving me 104 hours searching for my information online and almost 50 hours actually dealing with the data brokers to remove my information. We thank Delete Me for their continued sponsorship of this program, and we encourage everyone in the CarEdge community to be like me and my dad and get Delete Me.
The only thing good about those data brokers is as my memory fades and I can't remember where I live or what my phone number is, I can go online and find a data broker that would sell me my phone number and my address so I could know again. I think that'd probably be a good reason for Delete Me. Yes.
Dad, a couple comments here in the chat. I want to spend some time on this. We've got here from Turbo Diesel. The Toyota that Zach described is gone and is now a bloated pig. And I think, to a degree, Orange Rubber Ducky as well, they forgot that Toyota was supposed to be cheap and Lexus was supposed to be the expensive choice. Dad, when we look here at the fastest selling SUVs in the United States, let me pull it back up on the screen for a moment. I want to scroll down for a second here. We have the actual data. Look at the average selling price of the Sienna and the Sequoia. I mean, we're talking about a Sequoia transacting at over $83,000, the Sienna at $51,000. Obviously, the Corolla Cross at $31,000. That's where Toyota's sweet spot is. But I think there's some efficacy to these notes from our community, Dad. Like, Toyota is kind of going through that phase of company building where they're like maximizing profits now, doing a great job. What wasn't it like Jeff Bezos, like your margin is my opportunity or something like that? Like they're creating an opportunity for other automakers and dealers to step up.
It is, when you look at some of those average transaction prices, it is absolutely inconceivable to me that there are so many people out there willing to spend nearly $85,000 for one of those Sequoias. And they're rushing to do it, and it's like, in old movies there were times where somebody would go off on something and then one of the other characters would slap them across the face, to snap them back into reality. It's like, and then the other character will thank you for doing that. It is like these people need to be slapped across the face and snapped back into reality. There is something unbelievable to me when Toyota and Nissan and Honda first came into this country and they were inexpensive vehicles. Okay, that was their calling card. They weren't quite as up to snuff at that time as the domestic vehicles were, but they were much, much less expensive. Today, they are equal to or exceeding the domestic manufacturers in pricing.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's this level of insanity that we have to rush out to spend $85,000 is just staggering to me.
It really is, Dad. And I think it's exemplified by the strategy that actually Toyota used to come and break into this market. I've got here, Dad, the average price, or the starting price, excuse me, of the first car Toyota sold in the United States was the Toyopet Crown.
Yes.
All right? The Crown Toyopet. I don't know if I'm getting it backwards for it. Toyopet Crown. What do you think the price was? And we can do inflation adjusted. So give me a second here. Inflation calculator. Let me plug some numbers in really quickly. But what do you think the price was for the starting price for the Toyopet Crown, the first vehicle that allowed Toyota to break into the United States way back when? What do you think that price was in today's dollars?
In today's dollars?
Yeah.
Not in dollars at that time.
You can give me
I,
dollars in that time, and we're going to inflation adjust it to
my,
today as
my
well.
guess is that the first, if I'm guessing it's a small vehicle,
Yep.
it was probably somewhere around $1,500-$1,600.
Back then, and so then
Yes.
inflation
Yeah.
adjusted.
Well,
Yep.
today it would be like, okay, that'll be $1 billion, please.
Give me a second here. I want to show you a photo of the vehicle that Toyota came to the United States with that got them on the map, that ultimately allowed them to undercut the domestic automakers on price and on reliability. It was this
Yes.
vehicle, the Toyopet Crown. You can see it right there. Not a big car. Here we go. This is a good looking one. Boom. That was it right there.
Lovely.
Inflation adjusted, Dad.
Yeah.
That vehicle cost $24,700.
Wow. So it was $2,187 brand new.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
now look where we are. We've got Toyotas flying off the shelves at what? $83,000. This is what's so confounding about today's auto market. Like Mitsubishi, for example, had the opportunity to run the Toyota playbook and be able to capture market share, but actually they're, cutting production and ending the production of the Mirage, the vehicle that's even at a lower price point than this.
Yes.
Nissan with the Versa, for example. But there's just something here to the fact that this is how Toyota broke into the US market. But
Okay,
ultimately, now they're in the phase of company building where they're just maximizing profit, creating that opportunity for others.
and we're watching it happen again in real time with Korean car companies.
True.
Because I remember when Hyundai first came to the United States, and it was like, okay, this is like when the Asian brands, when Toyota, Honda, and Nissan first came to the United States, they were cheaper, they weren't quite as good. And then all of a sudden, now we've got the Korean brands. We had Kia and we had Hyundai come to the United States, and it was like they were repeating the Japanese brands playbook. We're going to come in.
Yep.
We're going to be lower priced. We're not going to be right up there quality wise with the Japanese brands, but close enough that at our price points, people will sacrifice some of that quality because they're saving so much money. And when you look today at what Hyundai and Kia are doing, they are moving their entire product line up market. They're not fearful of it at all. We are watching them implement Toyota's playbook in real time.
Yeah, we are. And they're not necessarily able to do it as effectively as Toyota's doing it, which I think to a degree, Dad, we know Mazda wanted to follow the Toyota playbook, go up market, increase prices, increase profit margin. These OEMs, the manufacturers, make more money when they sell the more expensive vehicles, higher content vehicles.
Yes.
However, look at what's happening. They're not selling as effectively as Toyotas are, which is then making them readjust their strategy and say, okay, here's $10,000 in a lease cash incentive, or for other automakers, big incentives as well. Dad, back to the chat here for a moment, and then we can switch gears. Joe's saying open up the spigot, Toyota. I think that is actually at its core. If they could produce more vehicles, which I'm not trying to trivialize that sounds very difficult, but if they could produce more vehicles, that would do wonders for them.
Well, I think when all things are said and done this year, they will have produced pretty close to 12 million new vehicles. That's 1 million new vehicles a month. And at 1 million new vehicles a month, or pretty damn close to 1 million new vehicles a month, they can't keep up. They can't produce enough. They produce more in 1 month than many manufacturers produce in a year. Okay? And it's like, I don't know how they can. I mean, how much more can they build? I guess at a certain point, they're going to have to figure out how to get that number up to 13 million or 14 million. They're going to have to add capacity. But do they really want to rush into adding capacity when they're able to sell everything they build at a premium price? Because they always seem to be in short supply.
We've got here from Anthony. I'm currently in the market for a 2025 Camry XSE or XLE, but can't get a good deal. Boom. This is the reality and the challenge that Toyota dealers face. they have customers who may be shopping on price, because as we always talk about here, even though we encourage you to shop out the door price, not monthly price, at the end of the day, there are some really good incentives from Toyota's competitors that are going to beat out the perceived value that you would get by paying MSRP on a Toyota or getting obviously a deal on a Toyota. It's just harder, which also reinforces like the services that we offer and why people, come to CarEdge for help. They want the Toyota, they want the good deal. Obviously, we put in the energy and effort to make that happen, but it's not as easy as just going down to your local Nissan dealership, getting the manufacturer incentive, getting the dealer discount or Mazda. So again, this is the crux for Toyota dealers and the opportunity for the broader auto industry.
Yeah, it's their major problem is they haven't figured out how to be able to max out total production any further than they already have, and so that's their real problem. We can't build enough to be able to satisfy the appetite of all our customers out there.
Which may sound tongue in cheek, but like this is a legitimate opportunity, and then challenge for Toyota, an opportunity for other manufacturers.
Yeah, I am saying it tongue in cheek, because they're taking this problem all the way to the bank, and ultimately, will it cost them? It can. Yes, they will lose some customers that they will never ever be able to get back. That's the risk you run when you can't produce enough of something and you've created such a strong demand for it. So, yeah, kudos to them. If I was a Toyota or a Lexus dealer, I'm like on my knees thanking God every day that I was smart enough to buy one of these franchises so that I could be in this position. I mean, you could either be the guy that bought the Toyota dealership or the guy that said, well, I can't quite afford the Toyota dealership. I'll do the Nissan dealership. Or I'll do the Mitsubishi dealership. So it's, I would be on my knees every day, praying and thanking God.
From Gabriel, Toyota is overrated and overpriced. Comments like this, obviously every brand's going to have kind of, haters and evangelists, but I think we're seeing, again, the TikTok I created, Dad, that was about Mazda offering the $10,000 lease cash. Like, I was very surprised to see how many people were anti-Toyota in there and pro Mazda instead. So I think we are starting to see a little bit of a turning of the tide to a degree, and it's hard not to when the prices are going up as much as they are.
Even if that were true, okay, even if they're overrated and overpriced, they still have more customers than they know what to do with. I mean, let me localize this for you, man. Wouldn't we hate to be in that position at CarEdge, to have more customers than we knew what to do with? And let's get them all, and we'll try and figure it out moving forward. I would rather be overrated and overpriced and inundated with customers than underrated and underpriced, wondering, is somebody going to open the door and come in and maybe buy something today?
Completely agree. Two different problems, to say the least. One of them puts money in your bank account. The other does not. From Igor, Lexus dealership I'm at right now got less than 30 days of inventory. They sell more in 1 week than they get every 2 weeks of allocations. They get supplies getting smaller weekly. So there's some insight. These Lexus dealers, just like Toyota dealers, don't get enough new vehicles to satisfy the demand. And then, Dad, we'll switch gears here for a second. Just help Alan in general. Should I wait until December to get a car? If you're in the new car market, the end of the year is always the best time. There's the most pressure. There's the most incentive. So if you can wait, yeah, sure. Used cars, I don't think that advice really holds true, correct?
Not necessarily, but yeah, on a new car. And then it, the other thing is it depends on the new car you're looking at and what brand it is and how many there are. So, but typically the best time of the year to buy a new car is the last month of the year. And if you can time it perfectly, the last week of the year. It's always been the case. My suspicion is it will continue to remain that way for quite some time. There's just this pressure at the end of the year to hit annual sales objectives, whether it be on a dealership level, a manufacturer level, or an individual salesperson level. So there is no other time of the year where it's like the convergence of a perfect storm in order to be able to get the best possible savings. So yes, it's real simple. Yes, the end of the year.
From Eric, how far can I get a Ram dealer off MSRP right now? This is also going to be model specific, so it depends, which model. But that being said, Eric, I recommend you use some of the resources back on CarEdge.com, many of them free. For example, go to CarEdge.com, click on research, and then click on see what others paid. That'll then take you to this page and choose the brand Ram. You can then see what discounts and savings our concierge team have been able to secure for our customers for various vehicles. You can also then, and I encourage everyone to do this, use our AI negotiator. Give that a try to reach out to dealers on your behalf and see what types of offers the AI agent can get. And Eric's got CarEdge Insights. There you go, Eric. You already have a lot of the data in your hands. It's going to help you figure that out. There's obviously the target discount as well. So I would say if it's an aged unit, Ram 1500, there are dealers that are going to be doing 10, 15% off of MSRP easy just to try and move the metal, if not more. So yeah, Eric, you're on the right type of vehicle to get the biggest discount. There's a reason it's getting the discount. It's not selling, but go, Eric, make it happen.
Yes, absolutely. I was thinking,
yeah.
And I try not to do that often because at my age it's not good for you. But yeah, I was thinking that perhaps with what we're doing, and not to pat ourselves on the back, but damn it, why not? It's our company.
Let's hear it.
I was thinking that perhaps really the future of car buying is here now with our AI agent. Because how is car buying going to change in the future? Well, wouldn't one of the most positive changes be that a customer doesn't have to do it?
Yeah. Doesn't have to worry about getting taken advantage of, doesn't have to worry about overpaying. Yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking, like maybe the headline on our website should be "The future of car buying is here now." And to
be clear, our concierge service has been doing this for years. It's just the challenge is we've got an incredibly talented team. We have to pay that team so that they are incentivized and excited to do the work. And kudos to them. They deserve to get paid, but that's why, we charge a high price there. How do we make that accessible to everyone? And then the concierge service, obviously accessible to those who still want that white glove experience. I agree with you, Dad. I think there's a breakthrough happening here where just get rid of am I getting screwed? Which again, we've been doing that for years for thousands of people. It's just expensive, and with very good reason why it's expensive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, that's what I was thinking this morning, and then I figured I'd stop thinking, because that's just the kind of guy I am.
Enough thinking. Dad, here's an example of an automaker that's having to really step up to try and make sure they can continue to move the metal. Lucid. They've actually stepped up already because all they seem to be able to do over at Lucid is just burn money, light it on fire. They are going to continue to offer a $7,500 discount on their Gravity vehicle in Q4, even though there is not going to be a manufacturer incentive. I find this fascinating. Also, don't really understand how they can afford it, but I find it fascinating.
Well, it's easy as to how they can afford it. If you're losing $250,000 on every vehicle that you sell, what the hell's another $7,500? It's like, come on, guys, we can almost afford that. But they realize that they're not going to, and I believe through the first portion of this year, there's been 9 Gravities registered to buyers. 9. So if they've only sold 9 when there is a government tax credit, they got to be looking at it and go, well, there's no way we're going to sell any if that goes away, so we're just going to have to eat it. And that's what's happening. We're forcing manufacturers to make decisions as to how it's going to impact their profit margins. Now, in Lucid's case, they don't have a profit margin; they have a negative profit margin, because I believe the number is somewhere around $200,000 or $250,000 that it costs them for everyone that they've sold. That's how much they're losing per sale.
I want to get into that business somehow. I want to be compensated like an auto executive, but figure out how to lose $200K every transaction.
It was like when one of the owners I worked for said to me, he said, well, I don't think we should discount our vehicles. And I looked at him and I said, well, our competitors think that we should because they do. And unless you come up with a pay plan that rewards me for saying no to a customer, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to do whatever the hell it takes to sell them, because that's the only way I'm going to get paid. So, I wish I could have figured out that pay plan.
You're telling me, Dad.
The more you say no to a customer, Ray, the more you're going to make. Okay.
Folks, don't say no to CarEdge. Check out CarEdge.com. We've got all sorts of resources for you back on the website. You can shop for new cars, used cars, research vehicles. Please be doing that. Track your vehicle's value. Get some money saved on your auto insurance, or get a comparable quote on a warranty and see if you can save money there as well. So please, folks, check it out back at CarEdge.com. Every day, doing the best we can to help folks with all things auto. Dad, let's call it a show for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more CarEdge Live. Appreciate you tuning in with us, folks. And also, Dad, we both went the white shirt route today. It's always interesting to see when you and I match to a degree.
Well, and especially considering the fact that I hadn't had any communication with you this morning at all.
No.
And
it's our first time talking today, right now.
Yes, and you first appeared on my screen here with 27 seconds before we were going on air. I had no idea that today was White Shirt Tuesday, but I'm thankful that it is. And for those of you who can't get enough of me, and you'll hear me say this every week, I don't know how that could be, but if you're out there, I will be on with my friend Brandon from Car Questions Answered on CarSense today at 1:30. We're doing a show, and I think the title of the show or something about the show is my 14 years in the car business. And I asked him, I said, well, was that my first 14, my middle 14, or my last 14? He said, no, we're talking about his 14. Okay, got it.
Okay. Well, definitely tune in for that, folks. CarSense, just search that here on YouTube. Dad, I love you. Enjoy your time with Brandon today. I'm going to get some food in me and get back to work.
That's what I'm about to do, is to eat some lunch before I go on with Brandon. So yes, we'll see everybody back here tomorrow. And for those of you who tuned in today, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.